Hi, David.
Hi, Nadira.
Why do we need to do risk reviews?
Risk is a very dynamic challenge. It's not just something that happens once, it happens all the time. We are constantly exposed to risk of different sorts, of different severities, of different types. Everything we do that's worth doing is exposed to some kind of risk. And it's important that we recognize as a dynamic challenge, it's changing. So the risks that we face right now sitting in this room are different from the risks that we'll face when we go to lunch, or the risks that we face when we drive home, or the risks that we face when we're with our family or when we're relaxing. And we need to recognize that as risks change, we should be identifying them, prioritizing them, developing responses and implementing them. So if we're doing anything that takes a span of time, like a project or a strategic planning period or a product launch, we should identify the risks at the beginning, which will determine our strategy for the period. This is how we're going to move forward with the risks that we know about now. Then maybe a couple of weeks or a month later, we've made some progress. We've changed the situation through our decisions and our action. Some of the risks that we identified previously have gone, and new risks will have arisen. So with a risk review, what we're doing is we're looking at the change in the risk exposure with time and saying, we had this before, we took these actions, now we've got this. And we would hope that the threats we'd identified before have gone away or at least got smaller. The opportunities we identified before we've either captured or they've got bigger. And then we need to look again going forward at what new risks have arisen that we can now see, which we couldn't see previously. So we're testing the effectiveness of our risk responses, and we're renewing or reviewing our view of the future from a new perspective. And that's why we have to do risk reviews.
Yeah. But how often do we need to do risk reviews?
That does depend on how frequently things are changing. If you have a very stable situation and it doesn't change very often, then you need to do risk reviews less often, less frequently. So on, let's say, an operational setting where we've got a production line and a stable workforce and an existing set of products, well, maybe we only need to do it once every year or every 6 months. If we're in a highly complex project where things are changing constantly, perhaps with an agile development process, incremental releases, new requirements coming from the client, maybe we need to do a risk review every week. I've been on very, very complex projects where we actually did a risk review every day. And we would have a risk review at 9 o'clock, or actually 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. What are the risks we face today? Then we would plan the day's work and do the day's work. And at 6 o'clock in the evening, we'd say, so what happened and what risks do we face for tomorrow? Now that's quite unusual. It does depend on the volatility, the rate of change.
And how dynamic
it is within the situation, exactly.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.